Welcome to the Scott Townsend Show, brought to you by Dietzo Man Productions.
I heard on the news this morning that we couldn't even build another warship if we needed to within the next 6 years because we don't have the people to do it. That to me is insane.
Hey, this is Scott Townsend. Welcome back to the Scott Townsend Show. And today I have with me a friend of the podcast, returning guest, good friend Ken Rusk. Ken, how's it going?
Great, Scott. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. What's going on up there? And where are you up there? What state are you in now? I should not mention.
Well, I spent the last 3 weeks in northern Michigan, which is, if you've never been there, it's just heaven on earth. And but I live in Sylvania, Ohio, which is just outside of Toledo. That's where I currently am.
Oh, okay. Ken was on back in December 2020. Man, it's a long time ago, seems like now.
Sure.
Although it doesn't seem that long ago. It seems like just yesterday we were talking about, where is it? I've got it right here in front of me, covered under all these pieces of paper. His book, Blue Collar Cash. And we had a great discussion. Even got it signed. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And yeah, it's a good book. We had a good discussion, and thought it'd be fun to have you back and see what's been going on since the last we spoke. First question, like I always ask everybody, the little icebreaker: what'd you have for breakfast this morning?
Well, for the last 30 years, I've created a protein shake that I build every single morning. In fact, Scott, I could probably do it in my sleep, but it has about 10 or 12 different ingredients in it. And I crank that thing out, take my vitamins. I stare at my little rotating frame that has all my favorite pictures on it. And I'm blessed and grateful and thankful. And it's a good way to start the day.
Huh. I'd like to know what's in this protein shake. Maybe give me the recipe. We'll post it in the show notes or something.
Yeah, it's a good one. And it's I've been doing a lot of I'm kind of a health nut. So I've been doing a lot of research on this over the years, and it's about the best that I could find so far anyway.
So how have things been going since last we spoke? I know you've been on, man, over 100, almost 200 podcasts since the last time. I hope I was one of the first. I don't know if I was or not, but talk to us a little bit tell us about what's going on since last we spoke.
Well, yeah, it's been crazy. I didn't think this book would go 10 feet, much less 10 miles. In fact, I never intended to become an author, Scott. It just kind of happened. And I've been all over the news, and I've been on all kinds of great interviews, and I've traveled around the country and done a few book signings. And but yeah, the thing became a bestseller last fall, which is really cool. And it's been something. I can tell you that people have really accepted it. There's been readers that I thought would read it, and there's been readers that I was kind of surprised read it. And I've had great feedback. So again, very blessed and very thankful.
So the book, just to recap real quickly, the book is a kind of a manifesto on why, not necessarily, why you should consider or reconsider stepping into the trades, and offering some good arguments as to why that could be a good idea.
Yeah, and those arguments have only gotten stronger, because what started out as what I could see as, hey, we have a problem here. There's all of this direction away from the trades, and almost a corralling of all of our future people in future generations, corralling them into college blindly. I mean, just, you got to do that no matter what. Don't listen to what anyone else says. You got to go to college or you will be a failure. And that never happened in our nation before. And it's happening now, but I think people are kind of getting wise to it, because the people that are doing all the corralling are the ones that sell college for a living. And you got to be really careful with that, because there's so many kids that come out with a whole bunch of debt and no job prospects. And those colleges don't give a damn about them after that. I mean, they've got their money and they're moving on to the next kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not anti-college. I said that before. If you're going to operate on my shoulder so I can get back on the golf course, you better know everything there is to know about a knife before you pick it up, at least as far I'm concerned. And the same thing is if you want to handle money, or you want to teach something, or you want to be an engineer or an architect. Yeah, I mean, there's things you need to learn about that particular business. But if you're just going because everyone tells you have to, and you'd rather build houses or, build cars or whatever, you really have to think about that before you just jump in. And that to me was a problem back then 3 years ago. I mean, it's almost been 3 years. Wow.
Yeah.
But it's only it went from a simmering problem to a full-blown crisis right now. And we're going to have to flip something back. I heard on the news this morning that we couldn't even build another warship if we needed to within the next 6 years.
You kidding me?
Because we don't have the people to do it.
Wow.
That to me is insane. And why they put that on the news, which would let all of our enemies know that we couldn't do that, is even more insane. But, the media is insane to begin with. So, yeah,
wow.
Crazy.
The kids, ever since our conversation, I've had some good conversations with others about you and your book, and I've recommended it. I've recommended the book multiple times, and every time I hear someone mention college, I always fall back to your book, and I mentioned to them, well, there's another alternative. There's other things that you could think about, and there's some pretty good reasons why you might want to reconsider that. If you're just going to college because all your friends are going, I guess if you have the money to burn, that would be okay, but not a lot of them do, and so you better have a pretty good idea of what it is you want to do, because you've got a huge investment coming up in front of you.
Well, look at it this way. So I interviewed a guy just the other day who's a mechanic in New York, and now he teaches auto mechanics as well. He's talking about 25 to 30-year-old kids, people, young men and women, doing auto mechanics, making 150 grand a year in New York. Wow. So let's multiply that by 4 real quick. In my mind, that's 600 grand. I don't know if your math is the same as mine, but that's $600,000, right?
All right.
And they have no debt. I mean, they learned mechanics either in high school or they learned it on the job training or whatever. They've got no debt. Now, juxtapose that with someone who puts out $200,000 for a $50,000 a year education and then doesn't use that education. And there's an $800,000 swing in the same 4-year period, one to the other. It used to be kind of a minor financial problem, but now with the wage disparity and the swing and what you can get, what you're paying for college, it's a life-changing, life-altering mathematical equation at this point,
Before we continue, the best way to support the Scott Townsend Show is by telling friends, family members, and becoming a patron at patreon.com/the Scott Townsend Show. So yeah, we have awesome perks, personalized videos, personalized episodes, all kinds of cool stuff at different tier levels. Patreon allows us to do the show full-time, part-time, anytime. So thank you so much for your support.
Hey, Scott, it's been 3 years since I was sitting in this chair. Happy anniversary for 3 years with the podcast. See you, man.
Hey, this is Raylan Gale, and I absolutely loved being on the Scott Townsend Show, so I just wanted to say congratulations and happy 3rd birthday.
So I hear you've got a course going on since the last time we spoke about your book, The Blue Collar Cash. What's this course now?
Well, I was kind of, a lot of times when you see somebody that has a shelf full of books, if they're not entertainment books, you know what I mean? Like Lord of the Rings or something like that.
Right.
Or you're just reading them for pure entertainment. You see these books and they're all self-help books. And I say to myself, okay, what did you learn from that book? That yellow one right there. And well, I don't remember. It was a good book, great author, and I read it. And okay, but did you like take one thing out of that book and change your life with it? well, no, well, what about that book? And then you keep going, and pretty soon you understand that there's a whole lot of absorption, but maybe not a whole lot of action that comes from these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I didn't want my book to just be a trophy on someone's shelf. I read Ken Rusk's book. It was great. I wanted people to say, okay, now he wants me to actually physically change my life for the better. What's wrong with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I built this course, and it's $129. I've seen courses for $3,000. No, my life is good. It was good before I wrote this book, and this isn't about making money. You get a free $25 book with it, and then if you buy that, you get to donate one to your friend or your neighbor or your loved one or whoever, as like a gift from me to them. So I just wanted the course to have a real impact. I wanted somebody to say, 5 years from now, hey, thank you for not just giving me a book, but for forcing me to change the way I thought about my life and to take action in it and to make some things happen. So that's why I built it.
That's cool. So where do you go to sign up for the course?
Well, you can go to, you can find it at kenrusk.com, or you can go to bluecollarcash.com. And you can see the path. It's called The Path to a Successful Life. And yeah, you can get it there. And, and if you're, if you're beyond that point, but you want to donate to somebody else, I have a foundation that you can donate to, where I give this program away to the vets, to try to keep them, on point and focused in their lives, so they don't start thinking about the wrong things. And yeah, we're just getting started with that. We hope we make a big impact there.
So yeah, that leads me into my next question. Is you've started this new foundation. Tell us how that got started and what's going on with it.
Well, I think it's great that there's things like Tunnel to Towers. I do. You got these vets returning, and they're in a bad way. They lost the limbs and whatever, and they need the help. I think that's really great. And I've met the gentleman that started that, and it's fantastic. My thinking was, can we also get to the mental state of these young men and women before, during, and after their service? So I wanted to put the foundation together where I took revenue from the book courses and sales that I'm getting, and I wanted to fund this. It's called the Comfort, Peace, and Freedom Foundation. I wanted to take some of the funding from that and put it into this foundation to then give these books and courses away to veterans who are either out of service and out of support, or the sons and daughters of the fallen that, they need a little direction as to what, without a dad or a mom, what can I do now? What's my life going to be like? And I think that's really important, because, for some of these men and women, they go into the military and then they come out, and you've seen it in the movies where they come out and they're at the grocery store and they're walking around like, wow, I'm lost. Yesterday I was, detonating bombs, and today I'm here doing this. What's my life all about? You know what I mean? So I really thought, well, if I could get somebody to focus on what their future was before, during, and after the service, then when they came out, they would still be on that same path, and they wouldn't have these moments of what if. I must have hit a nerve, because there's a lot of people in the military that have contacted me to say, yeah, we need to get this program in the hands of our families. I think that would be really cool. If I could prevent one person from making a better decision than some of them make, that would be really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lieutenant Colonel Dan Rooney, he started Folds of Honor, kind of foundation to help, educating the kids of fallen soldiers or heavily wounded. So it sounds like you guys are all on the same page.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I attend there's an outing at my club here every year for Folds of Honor. A friend of mine's pretty big in that. And I was supposed to jump out of an airplane with a Navy SEAL strapped to my back. And believe it or not, we got a thunderstorm that morning. I was so looking forward to it. I really wanted to do this because it's been on my bucket list. So now they've got me scheduled to do it next year already.
All right.
But Folds of Honor is it's a great program. And, they really like the fact that I actually have a material here, at least locally, that you can give someone and say, start to think about this. Let's change the way you're thinking today. Again, there's people who are out of the service. There's people who are sons and daughters of the fallen. And then there's people who are still active in, and those are the groups we're trying to help figure out.
Last time I was doing some research on our interview, and there's one thing you brought up. You talked about how you take your employees and have them give you goals that they want to meet, and then, help them achieve those goals, and how that cements them, not just with you and your company, but talk a little bit about that process.
Well, when you run a company of, and again, I started when I was 15 digging ditches in around wet basements and foundations and whatnot. And I still do that. I mean, I'm not physically in the work anymore, but my company's still involved in that same process. And back in 86, I mean, we started with 6 people that would be willing to take a risk and a leap of faith, as they say. And now we have, 200. And in that period of time, over the last 30 years, you tend to hire a lot of people. And you're right. You really need to work on what's in it for them to work here. It used to be, me boss, you employee. I interview and then I decide whether I want you or not, and that whole thing. But now, the person in the interview has a lot more stake than they did in some of those days, because there's less of them out there and less to choose from. So, and there's so many choices that they have to go find places to work. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I just felt the need to help try to develop and coach people, because I knew that if you could say to yourself, wow, I think I can create a life for myself with and through Ken's company that I'm working for, then I would have something there. So I immediately started talking about, let's talk about getting your driver's license cleaned up, or let's getting your first car, or getting into your first apartment, saving for your first house, cleaning up an old credit card, cleaning up your credit, whatever it might be. Let's put those things in place and in line. And then let's start having you dream big about what your life could look like. So if you came to my wall right outside my door here, we have a huge wall with a big black plastic or a glass board. It's huge. And people take those colored markers like you'd see on an old, outside of a bar on a margarita of the day, the bright colors and whatnot. And they write their goals up on this board in crystal clear fashion. I mean, not just, I wish I was taller, but things like, okay, I'll give you an example. I want to pay my father back because he loaned me money for a car, and I've always felt bad about that. So it's $2,500. So I'm going to save $38 a week for like a year and some, and then we're going to get this done. And I'm going to get it, here's the starting date, here's the end date. I'm signing my life to it, and everyone else can see what I'm doing. I think it was $48. And sure enough, a year goes by in a flash, as you know, right?
Oh yeah.
And she's like, wow, I'm done with it. I paid him back. I can't believe it. She looked at me like I invented penicillin. Okay. But this is the thing. That's the magic right there, because if you can get a group of people that feel like they're intrapreneurial, meaning they don't really own the place, but they feel like they kind of own their division or their section or their department, whatever it is, you can go very far. And those people will drive your company way further than you can drive it yourself. Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. Hence our growth, right? So yeah, the big thing for me was, let's not just say you should have a goal, like your aunt or your uncle would tell you, and then they drop the subject and they're watching the football game again or whatever. Let's put this thing down in pieces and parts, and let's mechanically adhere it to the wall so that it's real and it's actionable and it's happening. Down to what's the account number of the money you're going to save every week, and you can't get your hands on it, so put it away where you can't get it and nobody else can get it. then and only then, Scott, do you have a real goal. I mean, do you have a real actionable thing? Up until then, it's just a hope or a wish or a dream or whatever. And I'm not into that. I'm into people making a life for themselves. I've said a million times, I can't get what I want, nor can my company get what it wants or needs until all of you get what you want first. And that is absolutely true. I don't care what business you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it is.
It's so cool. Do you have people push back when you approach them with this? Like, I don't want you, I don't want to tell you what I want to do, or I don't want to write my goals where everybody can see, or a goal where everybody can see it.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens. So what I do is I have one-on-one meetings with all of them, but I will have them come in and just say, this is what I want to do. This is how I plan on doing it. And I don't necessarily need to put it up on the board in front of people. Fine. No problem. As long as you're chasing something, we're good. If you're just here because you're waiting for Friday to show up, that's not going to cut it. So, and does, again, does all 200 people participate? No. Most of them, yeah. But I will tell you, as a business owner, the ones that are happy to do it, there's your circle of entrepreneurs that surround you. And those are the people that you pick from and choose from to drive you and your company forward. And again, further than you could do it on your own.
You got a new book coming out. I guess you're working on some kind of new tome. I'm looking forward to that. What's this one about?
Well,
if you can say.
Yeah, I can tell you this. I think that when it comes to corporate culture, when it comes to building a cool place to work, I think a lot of people don't know how to do that. I think they're so stuck in their ways of, I have to be the most relevant person here. I have to do everything. When I go home at night, if I'm 80 hours into my work week and I've killed myself, then yay, that's what a boss does. That's cool. Nope, sorry, the exact opposite. So I'm kind of writing a book from the perspective of the employee, things I wish my boss knew. You know what I mean? And that's kind of as much as I can get into it right now. But it's going to be a cool spin on how to create a cool culture, either from the top down or the bottom up.
Things I wish my boss knew. And I could come up with a pretty nice little list there. What's one thing that you would like your boss to know? If just one, if you can share one.
Well, here's a simple one. I wish my boss knew things I wish my boss knew. One of the things I wish my boss knew when I was younger is, what am I after? Like, what makes me tick? What am I really after? Why am I here? Why am I here right now doing this?
Yeah.
And how to really pour fertilizer on that. You know what I'm saying?
People, it's a cliche now, but people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And kids today, I'm going to shift gears once again, talking about youth. And it sounds to me like you are really hitting across a wide age range, but the majority of which are probably young men and women. When you're talking about starting a career and thinking about what you want to do and the trades and things like that.
Well, it is. If I could get someone to start out and not go down a path of wasted time or wasted money or debt, for God's sake, that's a huge thing. If I could get someone who maybe hasn't done any of that, but hasn't quite figured out what they want to do yet, because these societal expectations are still, sitting on their shoulder, weighing them down. You know what I mean? That's two. If I can help a boss, quote unquote, create an entrepreneurial ring around him or her that makes everybody happy and drives their company to infinity, that's three. Yeah, I'm doing that. So I think those are, and that last one, having someone read the book and then create a staff or work with the staff to create this entrepreneurial ring around them, this feel where you share things and you win together and you celebrate together and you lose together, you know what I mean? But you win together. That's a really cool reader that I didn't expect. And that's been happening. So it's been a lot of fun. I mean, you know, I'm not a movie star. I'm not a politician. I don't have a household name, none of that. Most authors, and this is an interesting quote, most authors never sell more than 1,000 copies of their book ever. And we just crossed, I think, 35,000, I think, or whatever. So, I mean,
oh my gosh.
And we're building from there. So it's been a hell of a ride. And again, eternally grateful and absolutely blessed.
Is there anything else you want to mention, talk about? This is your time, man.
Well, I would just say this. So let's assume that you're already set in your life and your world is all good and everything else, but maybe you want to help somebody else. Maybe you want to help a vet or somebody like that. Look up the Comfort, Peace, and Freedom Foundation. It's pretty simple. It's CPF-military.com. Comfort, Peace, Freedom it's CPF-military.com. And go there and maybe donate a few bucks, and doesn't matter. You can donate $2 or you can donate $102. Doesn't matter. Know that money is, it's all going towards helping, someone see their path forward now that you've seen yours or done yours. And I just hope that people take advantage of that, because these people need help. It's the rates of them coming back and initiating their own demise are way too high, and we need to slow that down, if not stop it altogether. So
you can, just so I'm clear here, so you're concerned with the vets who come back and get into a mental state that ultimately leads to their demise. Is that?
Yeah, suicide rates are way too high, and it's all because they don't have vision. It's because they were so intent into one way of life, which is, I respect the hell out of it, because that's what gives you and I the freedoms to sit here and talk about these things, right? So they go from dodging bullets to coming back and going, well, what am I going to do with my life now? I'm saying, why can't we have that question answered before they start dodging bullets? So that when they come out, they're like, okay, I'm done with that. Now I'm going to go do what I set out to do the whole time.
Right.
Get some clarity going, and then maybe they won't make some of those bad decisions,
Right. Okay. Well, Ken, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for stopping by and catching up almost 3 years later.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. Thanks for having me. It's when I saw this was coming up today, I'm like, great. I remember talking to you before, and I think it's great. I'm glad we did it again.
So can we do it again when your book comes out?
Sure. Absolutely.
Hopefully it won't be another 2 years.
No, I won't be that long.
All right, man. Well, for Ken Rusk, this is Scott Townsend. Thanks for watching and listening to the Scott Townsend Show. Have a great day. Everything's going to be all right. And we'll talk to you later.
The Scott Townsend Show is a Dietzo Man production. For more episodes, visit the Scott Townsend Show YouTube channel, listen on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
The Scott Townsend Show.
Janete, certifique-se de olhar por cima do ombro antes de mudar de faixa.